Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Marilyn Shannon, and this is the Breaking Free Show. And I am so happy to have you all join us today. It's a very nice day in the neighborhood, and I'm happy that we get to spend it together. Once again, we get to listen, take on something, learn, grow, break free, uh, just have a happy life. So I'm going to introduce Amnon, who's our producer, before we get started.
Hello.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm good, 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 good.
Good, 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 good.
Good, 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 good. I had a good
Y-
weekend.
Yeah, it was a good weekend.
It
It
was
was
good
a
for you.
beautiful
It
weekend.
was a beautiful
I
weekend.
mean, it was a little bit stressful yesterday, but other than that, it was fine.
Yeah.
All in all,
In
it's
the
just
scheme of
fine.
things, did you do anything special?
No.
Nothing. We actually this was a really good weekend. We actually had two birthday parties. We had one yesterday for a friend that's 65, and then one the day before for a friend of my husband's family and his mother, and she was 90. So we had a really special birthday weekend this weekend, and then I got to do yoga like a lot yesterday. So I feel really chipper. So watch out, world. Here I come, Chipper Maryland. So today, I just want to remind all of you, please feel free to call in anytime you want. This show is your show, and we love and encourage and invite you to call in questions, comments, anything you want. It's important. We're not in this alone, we're in this together. So the phone number to call in is 919-518-9773. And if you'd like to connect with us through Skype, you're more than welcome to, and that's computers, plural, the number 2K voice, and you'll come in on Skype voice. And then also we have a chat, and you are welcome to join us there, ask questions. That is right in the on the website. You can just put your name, nickname, whatever you like, and we monitor it, and we would love for you to partake in this show. So I'm going to introduce my guest to you today. He is delightful. His name is Shiv, and he's going to tell us and talk to us, not tell us, he's going to talk to us about consciousness. And I can't even imagine what he and I are going to get into, and you too when you call. So, anyway, let me introduce Shiv to you. Shiv, welcome.
Hi, Marilyn. Thank you so much for inviting me today, and good afternoon to the listeners. Uh, yeah, that's me, and I would like to introduce myself because a lot of time people ask me who am I and where am I from. So uh, at the moment, I am a person named by Shiv, and I'm an author of The Seed of Nothingness. And I do not associate myself, saying so, I do not associate myself with anything. I was born in India, a country just by a name. And I do not even think that, like calling yourself from a place or calling yourself with the identity is fair on your part because you somehow limit your being. So, how do I introduce myself? It's just a fragment of energy in this human manifestation revolving around the sun. I keep it simple.
Okay, well, I love that because, and I believe, and so labels obviously identify us. So we don't need to do that because both. But as a human, sometimes it's nice to be able to introduce ourselves or even to understand where we are, even monitor our growth based on our identity. So does that? What do you think about that?
Marlin, even in the book I wrote about it, that how we try to find ourselves through others. The very reason we ask anyone, what's your name or what do you do, somehow in our mind we try to judge them. And through that judgment, we self judge ourselves that where we are. So this is somehow, a way of looking at things through judgment. And what I have realized through my meditations and through my travel in this world is that you cannot find yourself through others. You have to find yourself through yourself. And that way cannot be found through any kind of knowledge. Like if today I wrote in the book, like I was traveling at that time with a Japanese guy, and
Wait, wait, wait!
anyone
I
who
missed that. What did you say? You were what? The Japanese kind?
I was traveling.
Oh,
I was on my journey, and I was traveling with this Japanese guy, and he didn't speak English or any language. I mean, he was traveling with me, and all the talks that we did was in silence. We stayed with each other for 3 or 4 weeks, and people would come and they would, like talk to him, and they would formulate a vision about this guy that he's Japanese, so he must act in a way that Japanese act. So it has nothing to do with this person because I know how beautiful this person was. And some people would come, he used to smoke. So some people would come, and if he's smoking, the person who would smoke will like him on a common interest. And the person who wouldn't smoke will somehow think like it's not good because he himself doesn't smoke. So I had a beautiful realization looking at that situation that we all try to find ourselves through others. We all think like if we judge anyone, and the way we judge others is somehow we try to like find our true self, because our conditioning of the mind is the way we are taught is that we have to like fit in a society or fit in a box. Like if you are from a certain sect of society, then you have to act in a certain way. But in actuality, we are free beings. We have this we have this ability to get into our consciousness and be whatever we want to be. And that is my like reflection to others, that just be as you are. Do not be limited, or do not try to find yourself. There is nothing to find. This life is a gift, and life is whatever you think and whatever you do, you become. So that is, every day you are a new being. So that's the reason I do not define myself.
that's so you don't do you define yourself in your what about as far as gender?
I have no gender. Neither am I male, neither am I female, and neither am I, like neither do I say that I am, not a male or female. I do not limit myself. I am a speck of energy in this human experience, and in a way, Malin, if you really get into yourself, we have the both. We have the masculine and the feminine in us. Sometimes when you said you did yoga, you had this, like I have to do it. That's the masculine. And afterward, when you did the yoga, when the relaxation came in, that was the feminine. So we have both the aspect in our bodies. So we can't define ourselves. I can say I'm a man because the moment I say I'm a man, then I have to do certain things what a man does, because what is a man and a woman anyways? It's just in the mind.
Right. I had this conversation, and I do get that, and I realize that we're all energy. And I had a conversation with a group of people the other evening, and we were talking about are men and women wired differently, and I don't believe we are really wired too differently, because I know we are energy and we keep on shifting, and the souls have no idea whether we're male or female, and it doesn't really matter. So it was a very interesting conversation because most people believe that we're wired differently. How do you define that wiring of male and female? I mean,
You
a
see,
man's body is different than a female's body.
you see, when a child is born, he's innocent. He has this sparkle in his eyes to discover and see the world as it is. It is through the age that when a child is born, he doesn't know what a man is, he doesn't know what a female is. So from the beginning of the child, the conditioning is put into the child. A, if is a woman, or A is a girl, so she should act in a girly way, wear the pink and hang out with girls. Or B, if is a boy, then he should act in a certain way, get dirty, get rowdy, should not cry. So this is the, I say this is the weed or the wrong seed that is sown in the child in the beginning of his life. And the confusion throughout his life runs, that who am I? There is no question. Why should anyone ask himself who he is when he is in an experience of life? But in the beginning, the conditioning, all the conditioning that the school, the society, the parents put in a person could give all the confusion throughout the life. The question, who am I? Where does that question arise? From the beginning, we were told to be something that we are not.
So
You know,
have you always as far back as you can remember, believe this way, or did you have a shift in your life?
Absolutely, I was not thinking or being this way. Something did happen in my life that made me realize that life is not limited to my own thinking. So I say I found that life could be really lived in simplicity and could be really, understood or realized in simplicity. So I say what really changed my life was the sunset. So I was looking at the sunset in the middle of the ocean. I used to, I mean, I was an officer on a ship in a couple of years ago before I renounced everything. So I was on the bridge wing. I was looking at the sunset, and I realized that, life is not limited to jobs. Life is not limited to the way we have limited our lives or, like categorized life that we have to live in a certain way. Life has a bigger meaning. So I saw the sunset and I realized that the humbler the sun is, the more down to earth it is, the more beautiful it seems. I could see the sun, the glow. But the higher it goes, as the ego arises, it is impossible to see the sun at a noontime. So that is something I really realized in my life in that moment, that the humbler and the simpler the person is, the more he glows. So that's something embedded in my body, and then I started my journey. I would like to say to the listeners that do not do what I did because it worked for me. It might not work for you. That's what I tell everyone. Like don't look at me, don't look for answers. Just take me as an example that if he can do it, then yeah, I can do it. Don't take me an example because when I renounced everything, I did it, and I traveled for a while. Like I traveled for 1 year throughout India at that time. Uh, but it worked for me. I cannot guarantee it will work for you because renouncing is something really big. It's not a word, and I didn't even know I renounced. Later on, at a stage of my life, that I realized, oh yeah, I did renounce everything. So it is your journey, it is your path. You have to find it, and the beauty is you will become what you think, and you will be with the consciousness the moment you will leave that you want to become something. This whole life is about being effortless and letting go, relaxation. So, in my journey or in my realizations, I have realized something that a rose is like a bud. It is like, stuck like a bud. It's always thinking what will happen to it, what is going on in my life. But the moment it relaxes, it opens up and life opens. So I emphasize it on this aspect that always be relaxed and open, and everything will happen to you.
So, what do you think? Why do you think that people feel so? Uh, well, let me retract that. I was going to ask you why people feel so disconnected, and I don't know if it's ever been any different. I think we're focusing more on connection.
Hmm.
So when you focus more on something, something else becomes more obvious too. Because just like freedom, in order to be free, you're coming from something or nothing to be free, right? You free yourself up. So to be connected, you have to come from disconnection, and to be conscious of connection, you have to know you're disconnected. Is that How do you think about that?
I think, Malin, it's more deeper than that. We cannot really explain or say that if you have to be connected, you have to be disconnected, or if you want to be disconnected, then somehow you have to be connected. So this is a very simple. I'll take it in other words because it's a little confusing. So some people want to be this, and some people want to be that. If you are this, then you're missing that, and if you are that, you're missing this. If you want to be connected, then you are missing disconnection. And if you are disconnected, then you want to be connected. It's always the want. The problem is the want. It is not where you are or what you are doing. It is always the desire to be something. And when I speak about relaxation, it's a very beautiful realization that I had is tension is something that you want to be, and relaxation is who you are. So life is all about being relaxed and being who you are. A lion cannot be, like sad that it can't swim like a dolphin. Because a lion is a lion, he can't be a dolphin, but he can be a witness. He can sit and see the dolphin enjoying the dive or whatever it is doing. But being a witness, being an observer, you somehow open up to the biggest of the biggest consciousness that you are a part of something. That is where you are connected and disconnected at the same time. You are a place of zero where neither you are positive or negative. Being a witness to self. That is my vision, and that is why my way of looking at life is just to be a witness, not to be defined.
So being a witness, I mean, there's a peace, a comfort in being a witness, being an observer, listening to what everything and anything that's going on around you.
I think being a witness is not to be a witness on the outside. Being a witness is to be a witness what is going on the inside. And this witness is not the ultimate. Being a witness is, as I would say, if you sit down with yourself. I do not say it's meditation. Meditation is not sitting in a posture and just being silent. That is just being sitting with yourself. That is not meditation. So I'll get into it. So once you sit down with yourself in silence, you feel that stillness within your being. You witness that stillness. And most of the thinking or the philosophy is that stillness is different from movement. But in actuality, stillness is greater than movement. You see, in space, everything is still and silent. And within that space, so much is happening. The planets are revolving, the life is, like living on Earth. So, this stillness, coming to the stillness in a being, when you sit down with yourself in this stillness, you suddenly become a witness to self. You suddenly realize that, whatever I'm thinking is not there. It's all in the mind. It's just like thoughts are coming. And you suddenly think that someone is speaking in your mind. And you suddenly want to disconnect from this voice because you realize that you are not this voice. So this is the importance of being a witness. And once you are a witness, something beautiful happens. You think and you feel, if I'm being a witness, there is something more. In that moment, you become an observer. An observer is someone who's just observing what is happening now on the outside. First, you have to be a witness on the inside, then be an observer on the outside. And the outside has nothing to do with what people are saying. The outside has to do with what nature is saying, what the trees are saying, what the wind is saying. So it's a very beautiful journey. It's the journey of internal. It's a beautiful journey, this life. And again, like I said, the answers could not be found on the outside. Everything is within. It is just a matter of fact of sitting with yourself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as I said, listening, because, everything around us is giving off information and saying something. So observing, taste, smell, everything is an extension or a form of listening. So being still is not doing anything. Being still is listening. And I understand what you said as far as there's a stillness in movement. There's a consciousness in movement. So are you saying then that stillness is consciousness?
Stillness is just a drop in the pool of consciousness, I would say. The ocean is immense, like you see, consciousness cannot be defined to the human mind. Consciousness can be experienced.
Right.
It is something, like what is the taste of honey? Nobody can define it. Like you can sit down and think about it. What is this taste of honey? It's not sweet. It's not comparable to sugar. So, it's like a it's not like, I don't say like you can define consciousness, or You can, like formulate theory about it. You can only experience consciousness. So is the truth of life. Life and consciousness, if I try to attempt to say something about it, it's like looking at a river flowing. You can pick a spot, but by the time, like you have picked the spot, the river has already flown down. You cannot like be certain, and you cannot be like rigid in your approach that I know. It's more about just being with the flow. Whatever comes is consciousness.
Right. Right. And it does grow.
It always grows.
It always grows.
Yeah.
Right. It's an endless something.
Yeah, it is
So
endless.
it is endless. So Chris is asking, how much do Buddhist teachings influence you?
Oh, Buddhist teaching. I am not a Buddhist person, and I'm not anything. I'm not more into any kind of teachings, but these are my realizations. Um, Now I would try to talk about Buddhism. You see, like I have a take on Buddhism. I do not 100% agree with Buddhism. It's my realization, it's my opinion, and I have the right to it. So I think like it's not about being a Buddhist, because you see, people have idea that a monk is someone who should sit under a tree or go in a cave and like cut himself through life and just live as life is. But in actuality, if you like I said, if you want to be a Buddhist, you're missing on life, because a Buddha or a person who wants to be a monk is getting his desire forcefully. It is not coming from inside. Because the moment you really realize life, then you are neither this, neither that. What Buddha said or what Buddha taught, we will never know, because it is all written down now. You are the Buddha of your life. You are the actual light of life. You are the God that you are seeking. So saying that what influenced or what did not influence is not important. What is happening to your being and how open you are to yourself is important. So I don't know. I'd never read a book in my life. That's the honest opinion. And I never did any meditation in my life. I just sat with myself and I realized it. I took life really simple. So I do not categorize myself by anything or any Buddhist teaching or Christian teaching or any teachings. I'm, on the other hand, I say do not be limited to knowledge. Knowledge stops your growth. Do not read. Just be.
So everything we want to know is just here.
Is right here. It's just
Right.
within you. And this is a gift, that this life is a gift. Once you sit with yourself, once you realize that, oh, things are not happening, this is not happening, there is something in your mind that is saying, but in actuality it has nothing to do with your consciousness, their true consciousness.
You know, it's interesting. A lot of people say to me, "Did you read this? Did you read that? Did you read this? Did you read that?" No, I just listen. But with that being said, part of observing and listening and just being is taking in some of these things so that they are part of this consciousness. They are part of what we be with, right? They're all part of it. It's no, I mean, whether it's Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism, the sun, the moon, the stars, they're everything they're being with it all, is and I mean, and it's up to each individual being how much you want to be with something. But it's taking in whatever it is you want to take in and doing with it whatever you want to actualize who you are.
Absolutely, I agree with you on this. And it's not that what I want to convey is to not be attached to anything. If you want to be a Buddhist, but do not be attached to it.
Right.
If you want to be a Christian, be a Christian. If you want to read books, read them. But do not attach it, do not formulate your truth according to them. Do not follow it. But do not, you be there and just be 100% there. Just realize it. And it's all about, it's nothing that we have to just, keep on raising our consciousness or our vibration. First we are in this vibration of our mind, because when the reason we are in our mind, I realize it. I'm writing another writings about it. I'll share it with you. When we were born, it's a human nature. It's the instinct of the animal to be safe, from the environment. So we get into our mind. It's all about safety and security. But we are conditioned so hard that the schooling and everything, that we are limited to our mind. We always think about safety. We do not grow up. So I say, like, grow up in your other, like, aspects of life. There is like millions of ways of living life. So do not be limited.
Mm-hmm.
And I say read books and, like, but do not be attached to it. Do not talk about it. Read it and then just delete it. It's simple as this. And I mean, saying so, even I wrote a book, and what I've written in it is all about the reader. It's all about, how to not be attached, and how to not read a book. That's a book about don't read a book.
Well, I just
That's
don't think I don't believe that there is any one answer. Do you know what I mean? I think I am a listening. I just think listening is as important as breath. If we don't listen to observe what's going on around us, and then we're not living. Listening is living, and I don't mean action. Being is listening.
hmm
So I just think that, and I know that there's so much to uncover within the simplicity, within the nothingness, to get to understand the nothingness. We don't have answers. I mean, there's because everything is always evolving and changing. So and the only way to go with it is just to be. The only way to be is to be,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely, and I totally agree with you on the part of listening. And I see, and I, like, realize that it's more about listening to self. And listening to self is not in words, it's in silence, where there is no kind of language. Like you see on a ice laden mountain, the ice is really thick, really thick. It's really conditioned, really rigid. So is our mind. But the sun rays come in the silence and somehow melt the conditioning of the mind. And the moment the ice melts, the river forms and it flows towards its ultimate to the ocean. So it's all about, being rigid and being flowing, being relaxing and listening. Of
Mhm.
course, listening to the silence.
Right. Well, I don't know who or what we're we're listening to when we listen. And I don't know about listening to self because when you're thinking of energy, there is no
hmm
self. It's just the
hmm
energy. So I mean, I guess when we're going back and forth. We're going back between the 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 self and the no self, and that's how it is. It's a dance. And I'm not sure what there is. I just know that the self is a step to the to something, to nothing, something. But something is nothing, right? Nothing is something. So we don't. I mean, I don't know about listening to self. So tell me something. What is when you're up and you're giving a motivational talk, and I know you're doing quite a bit of that. What is your message? What's your message, and what do you want to give or leave or share with your audience?
You see, what I really am doing at the moment is I'm going around and I'm trying to, you know, first of all, I just say this, I'm not going to interfere in anyone's journey. Like, I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just trying to be myself. And in being myself, I see that, a lot is happening. Because,
Wait a second.
that
Wait a
I
second.
feel so much,
Shiv,
like,
Shiv,
locked up if I don't share.
Shiv. Shiv,
Mm-hmm.
you're breaking up a little bit. So you were saying, and I don't want us to lose what you're saying. You're saying that you're not trying to interrupt somebody's journey. You're just wanting to be yourself. So I heard that part. And then could you go on from there because you were breaking up?
Yes, I continue on that. So I am just trying to be myself, and in being myself, I'm seeing that somehow, people have these questions, and they keep on asking me questions. And it's not that what I'm answering, it's more about they are relieved when they ask questions because they have this burden. And once they are relieved of their burden, and the way I'm answering, I'm giving them 10 more questions.
Hmm.
So it's more about an exchange.
Right, right,
So
right.
my ultimate thing is, what I visualize is to make them tired. Because once the mind gets tired, is only then a person will surrender to self. Once we start pushing the wall and get
Yes,
tired.
yes,
So
yeah,
so this is what
yes,
I'm doing at the
yes.
moment.
That, you know what? That makes perfect sense because I was, when I started the show today, I said how much yoga I did yesterday, and the first hour, my balance, I have to tell you, is not that great. My legs are
Mm-hmm.
kind of like dead weight sometimes, and they just don't always want to hold me. One leg refuses. But yesterday morning, I couldn't hold any balance. Yesterday night, when we did the evening part of the yoga, 'cause it was a special day, my balance was great because I was so tired that my balance was great. I was like, okay, what's happening here? Because my legs were holding me just perfect, and I could put my leg out, and I was doing all these things because I was tired, and I could, and there wasn't a resistance. When you're tired, there's no resistance, and it's wonderful when you're in that place because you can. It's almost like you take a snapshot of that feeling of that place, so that your cells can remember what that felt like. You can go back there again, or you can never be the same again once you have that snapshot. So exactly, I love what you just said, Shiv. That was great. Very good.
Yes, absolutely. The moment you relax, you became. Earlier it was the tension that I am not able to do it. So,
Right,
example you gave.
right. So how do you think? Um, where do you think we are in a as a human race?
We are where we are. I mean, I think at this very moment, you know, it's a difficult question because I mean, it's somehow it's political and somehow it's spiritual. It has both the extremes to it. You know, I think we are on a journey, for as far as I think, or on a path leading towards our own selves. I think this earth, this place, is just here to make us realize that it is the ultimate truth of life is to walk towards your own true self. So, I mean, I think the world today, wherever it is. It has nothing to do where you are. So it's somehow, if I try to explain it in words, I think we are at a very beautiful place. We are in the gift of life. We are experiencing life. We are alive. So that very notion is something great.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I see that too. I see opportunities. I see people being free. Just the name of our show, Breaking Free. I mean, I see people free. I see a lot of people free. I see a lot of people doing things that are in their, working on finding themselves, working on expressing themselves, finding a voice, people speaking out. I see things that are going away, but they're going away in a hard way. I think shift is happening, and when shift sometimes happens, it happens, you know, powerfully. So I see a lot of good around the shifts. Before we go on with more, I want to invite anybody out there, all of you out there, to call in to computers on your Skype, computers, that's plural, 2K voice. You're more than welcome to come in, call us, ask questions, make a statement, comment, whatever you like. And then if not on your computer, you want to call in on a phone, you're more than welcome to, and that's 919-518-9773. Or you can connect with us in our chat. Just put your name underneath the video, and you will be in there, and we can talk in there too. So we'd love to have you. So Shiv, what's next? What should we talk about next?
I think the best. I say to a lot of my friends that like the best talk could be done in silence, but I know we have to talk here. So let us talk about. I think let us talk about the book because that is something that I really do not do it. So I would like to really speak about something that I've written is Chris asked Buddhism. I wrote a chapter that is called "Who is this Buddha?" So in the seed of nothingness, I realized that as I was traveling, I had a lot of people that I met and a lot of questions and a lot of seekers who were after enlightenment and I don't know whatever. So who is this Buddha that I realized is the innocence within a being. A Buddha or an enlightened one is the inner child living in every person on this planet. And the whole journey and the whole path is to reach that Buddha, is to become that happiness, that genuine happiness that we have inside. And that is not even the end of the journey. My talk is enlightenment is not the destination, it is the path. So what really it leads to is the ultimate consciousness of the whole. You see, somewhere you have to start, and that somewhere is right here within you.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So you're on the path, do you consider yourself on the path to consciousness? Or are you conscious, or are you on the path of consciousness?
I do not define myself. Like I said in the beginning, I am where I am, and I do not even interfere with myself to know where I am. I'm just being myself.
So that's a consciousness. Being yourself is a consciousness.
At some level, yes, it is.
Okay. And certainly my consciousness is going to be different than your consciousness, because my path is different. My entry point into consciousness is different. Whatever I'm learning, whatever I'm finding, whatever I'm becoming is different than your becoming. So can you be conscious or on a path of consciousness or being aware that consciousness exists without, does everybody have to be on a path of consciousness or more people on a path of consciousness for a single consciousness to be conscious?
Malin, you see, we all are striving to the top of the mountain. The path may differ, but the peak is the same. You may choose the other side of the mountain, I may choose the other side of the mountain, or some may choose some other way. It is not the path. Path is not important. And
Right,
neither is the peak. Neither is the peak.
right,
It's not to reach up there. What really is important is the steps that you're taking and what you're feeling inside while you're taking. The growth is happening in letting go. And every step, something you are letting go, the excess baggage that you have on your being. So you see now the question is the consciousness. Now the word itself is limiting. When we say what is consciousness, nobody knows.
right,
So we are limiting ourselves to the words. So the
right,
journey,
right,
the
right,
path, you
right.
see, it's not about the rights of right path or which way or which destination. Life is not so like complicated. Life is very simple. I've heard a saying that, a very, like a monk asked his teacher that, like, what will I do when I'll be enlightened? And he told him, cut wood, collect water before enlightenment, cut wood, collect water after enlightenment. So nothing changes in your life. It is just the perception that changes. So, even saying that it's a path, it's a journey, it's again limiting. Like we have to live our life till the time we are on this planet. You know, it has nothing to do with the journey. I really am contradicting myself at this moment because I do not want to be send out any type of confusion or set path. I want
Well,
this experience to be really free.
right.
You
I
know,
mean,
Be-
we don't know anything.
absolutely.
I mean,
And
that's we don't know anything.
absolutely, and that is the best place to be at.
Right.
Because the moment you drop everything, the moment you are in the nothingness, something beautiful emerges, and that cannot be stated in words.
Well, but as uh, human beings, as human beings, the conversations, the discussions, the books is part of the journey to that simplicity, to that nothing, to that we don't know anything, and just to be and enjoy and whatever that is. So we need all of these things. We need the words to even understand the word simplicity. How do you define the word simplicity?
You see, I totally understand the way, today the world thinks that, knowledge is important to know and to define. It's somehow, it's embedded in our minds, in our conditioned mind that we need to, like solve the puzzle. But if you really, like how do I define simplicity is that I do not even define it. I live simplicity. I live with myself. The best answers that I ever got in my life was sitting down and staring at a wall. That's how I got all my answers. That's where I read all the books. That's where I, like sat with all the masters, sitting with myself and staring at the wall. That's how I realized life. It's at the point where you have to drop everything, at the point where you have to realize the very essence that nobody and nothing will come from the exterior. Everything will come from the inside, and to blend into it, it is really it's some for some people it is really difficult because we are trained to act as per the manuals. We are trained to act what we are told. So that is somehow embedded in our psychology, in our minds, that we need to be told to do. The moment we realize that there is another way of life different from what we think, that is the first step to realize that what I know does not exist, to really surrender that there is something which I cannot understand and I do not even want to understand. The moment we drop the search, answer appears. Till the time we are searching, there's still a search. Till the time, like you're pushing against the wall, there's a lot of effort. You have to really sit down with yourself. And that is where all everything will come to you. That is where the simplicity will arise in you. That is where the lotus will arise in your consciousness, in your being. It's always in the non-doing.
Right. And that's a doing. Non doing is a doing. Sitting is doing. I mean, it's not
Well,
get up and go doing, but sitting, observing is a form of, it is a doing. Shiv, Chris is on the chat is asking, she'd like to hear you talk about the power of listening. What does that mean to you?
the power of listening. Yes, that
Listening,
that
yeah.
that that is the most beautiful thing to do in this human form. I would like to share a personal experience when I started listening. I just sat down with myself, and I listened to the sound of silence for the first time, and it is undescribable. It is something that cannot be, it cannot be recorded, and it cannot be, like even stated in words. The power of silence is the greatest power of listening. Once you sit down and once you surrender and once you listen to the silence, that silence does not come from the outside. Even if you're sitting in the busiest of the road, where there is chaos happening around you, once you sit down with the silence, nothing will interfere. I remember I was sitting in a under a tree at that time, and they were all kind of bugs there. They were biting me, and I was so much in the depth of the silence that nothing disturbed me. Listening is something very, very spiritual, pure, and holy act. It is not listening to the words. It is not listening to the logic. It is not listening to what you want to listen. It is listening to the very silence where everything becomes you and you dissolve. That is the power of listening.
Right. So I want to just make sure everybody heard and make sure I heard this correctly. Listening is not what you want to listen. It's not what you want to listen to. Listening is something that you. It's not. There's no intention. It's just listening. I mean, you can set out and say, "Well, today I'm going to listen to Shiv and Marilyn." That's a listening. But there's the listening that Shiv is talking about, that you don't. There's no agenda. There's no intention. You just you just wait. And waiting is a form of listening, right? Because you have to listen your way to wait, and you have to listen for what comes while you're waiting. But there's no intention. It's just an openness,
Yes, absolutely.
right?
Because if you sit down with the agenda of a thought that what you want to listen, then you're missing because you're trying to look for the words that will satisfy you. But listening as a whole is like listening whatever is coming and just being silent. Yeah, there are no words. There is no explanation. It's just being.
Right. Well, why don't you uh, hold up your book so we can see what it looks like?
Yeah, it's looked like a sunrise. That's something I really love.
Okay. And everybody can
Yeah.
find it where?
They can find it on Amazon. It's available on Amazon.
And so are you, so the work you do, Shiv, is that, so is the work selling your book and doing speaking, is that the work you're doing?
At the moment, Malin, I would like to share my vision. My vision is to make a commune, to start a commune with the people who are really willing to transform themselves. I'm looking to drop all the idea, all the concept of money. I'm looking for the evolved beings. I'm trying to, work on it and collect people who wants to start a new meaning of life, the true meaning of life. Start living in a commune in small numbers, doing agriculture and doing best what they can do, and meditate and evolve in their higher vibration, in higher consciousness. So that is my actual, my path or my vision. At this moment, yes, I'm not even stable any place. I'm a nomadic person. I'm just traveling. At this moment, I am in Portland. I'm doing lectures here. Tomorrow, I will be somewhere else. I'm just trying to light the candles, you know? I'm just trying to bring the awareness that there's another way of life. And there's another way of life which will lead to the ultimate happiness of self. So this is my work, what my life is dedicated to start this commune. So at this moment, yes, talks are there, the book is there, it's just to, instigate like, come on, wake up, let's do it.
So you say the true way. You said you used the word true. Did you not? Did you use the word true in what you were saying? Did you just say the true way or the true way to live or something? Did you say that? Maybe
The
not.
true way to,
Yeah, true way to
no,
live. Did you say that? Okay, maybe I misunderstood. I thought you said something about the true. So you're looking, so one of the things is you want to create a commune where people could come together and live together and live a simple life.
yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, I'm not criticizing, but what I see that it's the way the society is living. It's more like a chaos. It's a race, and nobody is happy, and it's sad to see that,
Mhm.
because there is no, like, as far as I see, maybe we are there, like millions of us, but we are not there at the same time. We are
Right.
too lost in the day
Well,
to day, into the
right.
jobs, and
I think
that
many,
that is
yeah.
something.
I don't know about lost. I would have to, I'm not sure about lost. I don't know if people are lost. I think that maybe we haven't found, not everybody has found their path, or they're on their path, or they're not maybe on the path that somebody else is on. But I'm not sure people are lost. I just think that it's good to have people out here like yourself talking about things, because somebody has, I mean, you have a book that's about nothingness. I mean, you have to have these things so people have an idea of what even to contemplate. You know, if somebody
Hmm.
has no idea anything about what does it mean to sit in silence, somebody has to tell them. Well, sitting in silence means maybe sitting on the, I mean, perch yourself on the end of a rock and stay there for an hour and don't have your phone, don't have any kind of music. Just sit there and listen to the birds and the bees. I mean, sometimes people need that kind of explanation. You know, I find sometimes that the things that I think are the easiest for myself maybe are the hardest for somebody else. And the easiest thing that somebody else has for themselves is not so easy for me. Doesn't come that easy. So I don't think we're lost. I think that there may be people that are, maybe they're just meant to be lost to show the
Hmm.
rest of us what lost looks like, or to,
I
you
I
know.
mean, when I said Marlin lost, I didn't say lost in a negative way. Lost is a very beautiful thing. You see, my way of lost, I mean, of course, it's not my first language, but my way of words have a different way of saying.
Right,
My lost is not lost. That lost
right.
that I'm sorry if you took it in the wrong way. That lost is very negative, but the lost that I'm saying is really beautiful. It is only when you are at this lost place will you find yourself. So my lost is not that, I don't, like I said, I don't interfere in anyone's journey. So I don't make a statement that someone is lost. But this lost is really beautiful, what I
Right.
mentioned.
But you know what, Shiv? Maybe it's all the same. Obviously, right?
Maybe.
Maybe it's actually the same thing. We get to the same point. You know, that's what's so good about, you know, understanding and being able to communicate like this, is that our loss is really the same, right? It's just, it becomes a little bit, I mean, it's the same. There's no difference.
But I always take it in a positive way.
Yeah.
Like for me,
Yeah.
everything is beautiful.
Yeah, there's no difference, because I think it's, when you, there's so many, and you're right, people can use different words and express something different or the same, but when you think about it and you really take a look at it, because there is so many sides to something, that loss is a perfect word to talk about, because when you're lost, it's an opportunity, right?
Absolutely.
So that's
Absolutely.
great.
That's
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes, so
Yeah.
yes, exactly. So it's exciting when you do look at things, as Shiv was saying, when you do put the love on something, when you do come from the love and place love on something, it change. I mean, I always say the world's going to look better out of rosy glasses. So everything you put love to is going to um, have it look different. Okay, so we only have a few minutes left. So what would be your closing words of wisdom?
My closing words of wisdom, you already mentioned it, love. Ultimately, it is the love. Love for self, this unconditional love for self will sprout everything in your being, and that love will become the reflection for others on their path. That is the most beautiful. You closed my show today, like you did it for me. You said it. Love is the ultimate.
Right, right. Well, and I appreciate that. It really is, and it does make everything so much easier when you
Yes,
just yeah.
it's the most beautiful thing. I mean, everything that comes is always coming out of love. Even you see, this life, it's all out of love. Everything around us is just love.
Right.
And just to tap into that love is the journey. It's the self journey. The silence and everything, the enlightenment is all leading you to self love. So the journey is, I would say, I mean, if I really want to, you really conveyed a very beautiful message for me, because I find it hard to say that, yes, people think sitting silently, staying out of phone, and, like sitting on a rock. It's not about that. It's not about, like doing the sitting on the exterior. It is more about sitting with self. You can be sitting in a busy place with yourself. It is just the silence and feeling the love inside. That is more important.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot to talk about here because there's so much to talk about when you don't know, and when you
Yeah,
talk, right? Because that's why life is so interesting and life is such a laboratory. Because as somebody else is speaking about something, as you're listening to what they talk about, you then can, it's fun to go into it and kind of play with it. Is what we're doing. We're playing with things. So I
we're just
really,
experiencing things. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So your next book is called what, Shiv?
I'm just like working on it at the moment. It might take an year or two. I just go with the flow, and I'm writing at the moment. So I haven't like thought of a name yet.
Okay.
So I mean, I just published this book in February, so maybe next year I'll publish the next
Yeah.
one.
Well, we'll be looking for you.
Yeah, thank you.
And so I know that you're also going to be having a baby, so we wish you a lot of, you know, success with that too, and a beautiful, beautiful baby.
Thank you, Malin. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you for your
welcome.
blessings.
You're welcome. And I want to thank everybody out here who has been with us today. This has been a lot of profoundness conversation. So we enjoy the fact that you've been here, and we look forward to having you all join us again in the future, next week for sure. And Shiv, thank you so much for being with us and um, being such a beautiful messenger.
Thank you, Malin. Thank you so much for
Thank
having me
you.
today.
Thank
I
you.
love talking to you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and give your wife Maya our best as well.
I will.
Thank you. And Amnan, thank you. And we'll see you all next week. Have a lovely week. Bye bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.